Well, our next guest has been crafting incredible works of art for over 50 years. Terry Murray, aka Murphy to everyone who knows him and his work, is the founder of the Lighthouse Factory, Inc., an incredible company that continues to gain worldwide recognition in print and on television, like History Channel's Big Build, where an entire episode was dedicated to his unique craft of building replica lighthouses of some of the most famous lighthouses in the world. Murphy, to date, has crafted over 460 different lighthouses from over 16 countries. With us to talk about the Lighthouse Factory is the company's creator, Murphy himself. Welcome to the show, Murph.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me here.
So, Murph, when somebody asks you, build me a lighthouse, what's the first step that you do?
A visit to the lighthouse, Elizabeth. I'm a real stickler, and I built my reputation on historical accuracy. And there's only one way to get that, and that's a visit to the lighthouse in the area. I talk to many, many locals. I take a lot of pictures. I get underneath the lighthouse and grovel in the sand and the mud and measure and take pictures. And, you know, I spend a couple days at that lighthouse, and that's really the only way to capture the spirit and to get to know it.
Now, let's take a look at some of the pieces that you brought with you today.
Okay.
Tell us about this one right here in between us. It's rather spectacular.
It is. It's one of my favorites. This is our local lighthouse, you know, very close to me. First lit in 1821, one of the most popular lighthouses on the Great Lakes.
And I'm sure you've loved and enjoyed building this one, haven't you?
Many, many times.
Many times. Now, how about some of the other ones?
The Minots Ledge, that's a very famous lighthouse in Cohasset, Massachusetts. Also noted is the I Love You light. The first lighthouse with its keepers met its demise in 1859. And this replacement lighthouse flashes a very unique light signature in memory of these keepers. It flashes I love you every 45 seconds.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So today there's a lot of weddings, anniversary celebrations, engagements at this lighthouse. And we'll make as many of those to celebrate death as we do life.
That is beautiful.
So that lighthouse brings out a lot of emotions in people. And for that
sure.
reason, it's one of my favorites.
I'm sure. And then the one next to it?
Oh, that's the Kilauea Lighthouse. Good story here, another one of my
Neat one.
favorites. The first trans-Pacific airline flight, these pilots were lost. We didn't have GPS and the aids to navigation like we do today.
Of course.
And they flew past the Hawaiian Islands, you know, out of the United States. And 80 miles later, when they could not figure out where they were, they spotted that lighthouse, which took them back to the Hawaiian Islands.
And it brought them back in.
That was in 1927.
Wow, amazing. Now, what about the ones in front of us?
Two also very interesting lighthouses. Jupiter Inlet on the left is a native Florida lighthouse built in 1850, and it looks as good today as it did when it was first built.
It's gorgeous.
The lighthouse on the right, that's the Point Loma Lighthouse in San Diego. California's got one of the longest coasts, you know, in the United States.
Yeah.
And for that reason, you know, it has to be well guarded with lighthouses.
Oh, absolutely. Now, tell me a little bit about lighthouses in general. I mean, we all know that there's a light on top. We don't know what the colors mean, not always. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit about that.
Well, Elizabeth, if you got in a boat in Florida and you took this boat all the way to Maine, about every 50 miles, you're going to find a lighthouse.
Really?
And they're all different. They're all unique with their own day markings and paintings. So in the days before GPS and Loran and aids to navigation, you could look at a lighthouse from a ship and look at the accompanying charts and know about where you are. So as you progress up the coast, so at night when they can't see these day markings, they all have very significant flash rates.
So as an expert in history and lighthouses, you were featured on the History Channel under the show Big Build. Why don't you tell us about that?
What a nice event.
Was it fun?
Yeah, they wanted viewers to see how lighthouses were built before we had power tools.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's, you know, that's exactly what we did. They followed me with cameras to a lighthouse. Everything we talked about, we photographed and measured and built. We took all this information back to the studio, you know, and we had fun putting together a lighthouse.
Now, what would you say would be the most popular lighthouse with your clients?
Oh, this I Love You light that we talked about earlier.
Is it?
It brings out such emotion in people.
Oh, it's beautiful.
What a rich lighthouse.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Murph. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Elizabeth, for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. So if you admire lighthouses and are fascinated, as I am, with their amazing and unique history, you must visit Murphy's beautiful website at www.lighthousesbymurphy.com. You can also call him toll-free to commission a custom lighthouse from Murph by dialing 1-800-288-0563. Once again, the site to visit is lighthousesbymurphy.com. Check out some of the most beautiful lighthouse replicas available in the world.